What up, cucks? It's your boy the hater, and you know what they say? A video a day keeps the hater getting paid. Anyways, it's been like 2 or 3 days since VM Punk, Vanilla Midget Punk, made his return, and I am already bored, alright? I didn't watch Raw because, quite honestly, I wasn't compelled enough to do so by the events of Survivor Series. This was one more like those nights where something decent happens in a pay-per-view, but it's not justifiable to go and sit and wait 3 hours. You just watch the highlights afterwards. And boy, am I glad I did, because I saw CM Punk's horseshit promo where he basically says, "I'm home." Wait a second. This is the same guy that a few months ago was telling MJF that if he thinks the grass is greener on the other side, he can go and be on the main event of night one of a buy one, get one free extravaganza. And now CM Punk is the guy that wants the main event night one of that extravaganza, because let's be real, I don't think they're letting him main event night two. Or Roman Reigns versus CM Punk, it's like guaranteed that Roman Reigns is going to win. You know what I mean? There's absolutely zero chance they're going to let CM Punk go over Roman Reigns. So with that being said, what is there left to talk about with CM Punk? I mean, first of all, he's a complete hypocrite, right? He is worse than everyone else who has been a hypocrite. Wrestling is full of hypocrites. Some of them I like very much, like John Cena, one of my favorite hypocrites personally, right? You have to consider, he talked all that smack about The Rock going to Hollywood, now he's done the same exact thing, and then he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize how hard it was." Like, shut your mouth. Shut your mouth. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not how that works. But CM Punk is even worse, because whereas John Cena just pretty much did only that, CM Punk has pretty much built a career. He's built a personality off of his authenticity, his perceived authenticity, right? Like, everything that he does is colored by that pipe bomb promo, which is obviously overrated, right? This idea that he's the voice of the voiceless and he speaks for everybody else has pretty much carried this asshole for like 10, 15 years at this point, right? Like, he hasn't really done anything else to merit his quote-unquote legendary status. I mean, what did this guy ever accomplish? I mean, he had a long title reign, but that's not relevant anymore because Brock Lesnar no longer won. Roman Reigns' title reign is like 3 times as long, so who cares, right? There's that, number one. Number two, he wasn't this dominant champion in any capacity, right? Yeah, he was champion for a long time, but typically he was in the second match or in the opening match wrestling like, Carlito or something, right? He wasn't really having these great feuds. And as a matter of fact, the only feud I remember is him versus like Kevin Nash / Triple H, and then of course him and The Rock when he dropped the title, right? That was like one of the only main events that he had. Everything else was just complete garbage. So with that being said, it's like he's not a legend because of anything he's done in the ring, because he's sloppy in the ring. I mean, I know people want to pretend that he's great because he's from ROH and he wrestled Samoa Joe in the Indies, but he's sloppy in the ring, if we're being honest, right? He's like a Gunther, right? They're sloppy in the ring. They're not really actually athletic, you know what I mean? Like, Gunther is like strong, but he's not athletic, right? Like, he climbs the turnbuckle, it takes him like 45 minutes, then his dive from the turnbuckle is basically like he just like falls. He just falls from the turnbuckle. Like, he's athletic the way the Usos are athletic, but he's not athletic the way that R-Truth, AJ Styles, even Rollins, like, even Balor to some degree, are actually athletic. Or like, take like Matt Riddle, right? Where he's like an actual athlete, So, he's not really athletic. I mean, CM Punk, I would argue, is even less athletic than Gunther, right? But with that being said, I mean, let's call it like it is, right? Let's just call it like it is. What is there to look forward to, right? To me, he already feels like a mid-carder, right? He came from the mid-card company, so him being in the main event doesn't make any sense. I know WWE has dropped the ball so bad nowadays that they have no choice but to take mid-carders from AEW like Cody Rhodes and CM Punk and convert them into WWE main eventers. Or like, I mean, I wouldn't even consider Cody to be a main eventer. He's like an upper mid-carder, you know what I mean? In every pay-per-view, he's going to be in like the third to last match. He's like right below the card. Like, he's below like, Becky Lynch. You know what I mean? Like, he's not really a main eventer, right? And I think CM Punk is going to fit into that role quite well, right? He's going to have a feud with Nakamura. He's going to win that feud. People are going to pretend it's a big deal. Oh, Nakamura and CM Punk, first time ever. Like, who cares? You know what I mean? But the truth is, his promo is the only thing that he has going for him, right? It's the thing people look forward to, You look at CM Punk and you think, oh, this guy at least might say some wild things on the mic, right? But he didn't, right? He just came out. He basically circumvented everything he's ever said before about WWE. He's like, "I'm home." Literally like 2 years ago, he said that the day he left ROH was the day he left wrestling. So I guess he's not a wrestler anymore because he's home now. And according to himself, home, quote unquote, is not a place where wrestling occurs. Home, quote unquote, is a place where people sell out. So he is the biggest sellout. He is the biggest hypocrite. And everything he has done in the last 3 to 4 years has proven this. Time and time again, this guy does something that the fans should hate, right? But despite this, the fans still like him. It's inexplicable. He's not charismatic. He's not good in the ring. He's not even that good at promos. But at the very least, with promos, you could hang your hat on it and say, well, okay, at least I want to see what he has to say, because that's infinitely more interesting than the actual match, and for everybody, not just CM Punk, right? But this promo was just him basically saying, I'm back, right? It's like, what was the point of even having this promo? It literally is just a cash grab for him and WWE. You know, nothing was gained by him debuting at Survivor Series. Why not just have him debut on Monday night and then take advantage of the massive pop he would have gotten there? Like, just make it so Monday night was the only event in Chicago. He comes out, gets his pop, right? Cuts his promo, says, I'm home. Now we look forward to next week. But of course, why would they do that? Instead, they're going to just throw him in the main event, right? To incentivize people to watch the first Raw. And then they're going to use the first Raw to incentivize people to watch the second Raw, right? That's the idea. But eventually, it's going to hit the fan. Shit's going to hit the fan. Then, what are we going to be looking forward to? You know what I mean? His feud with Nakamura, his mandatory feud against, like, Chad Gable. He's going to probably have a meaningless Raw match against, like, JD McDonough or Dominic Mysterio, and he's going to beat them, and people are going to lose their minds, and they're going to pretend to, at least. And then he's going to have, like, a main event match here and there, probably, like in a tag team type scenario. He's going to get jealous of Jey Uso. It's like, I already see where this is going, right? And it's not going anywhere good. And that's kind of the problem. The idea is that we're not really getting anything out of this. We're not exactly learning anything new about CM Punk. He's like in his mid-40s, which isn't a problem in terms of his athleticism or his abilities at all, right? But it's like, it's a problem because it's been overdone, right? Another reason why you want to get young guys is because they're not overdone. CM Punk has been overdone, and quite frankly, he's just not good enough to reinvent himself or to make himself interesting again, right? I hate to say it, but Paul Heyman hit the nail right on the head. I saw an interview maybe last year or something, right? Where Paul Heyman was telling Roman Reigns, this is your run. This is it, right? There's not going to be another run that's better than this. This is the one, right? And he was comparing it to CM Punk's run, which was like the run, right? And he was saying how CM Punk and AEW needs to do something new because we've seen this song and dance before. Right now we're seeing it again. You know, compare this. This is why I'm such a big fan of like Edge and Christian and these old timers, quote unquote, that are still around. These are like the last real wrestlers. You know what I mean? Like Randy Orton is kind of one of them too, but I don't think Randy Orton's going to be around when he's 50. Like I just don't see it, right? John Cena's pretty much gone. Batista's pretty much gone. I don't really think he quite got there, to be honest, because he was kind of like, he started out too old, so he didn't have the time to really become a legend. But for what he did good, right? Undertaker. These are like, I put Christian and Edge on the level of Undertaker, and I put CM Punk on the level of like, I don't know, R-Truth, right? Except R-Truth is obviously more entertaining, that goes without saying. But I put him in that level of like, they didn't really accomplish anything, right? They're not very memorable for like the right reasons. You know, they're not great on the promos or anything. They're mid, right? Like R-Truth, I love R-Truth, but people are starting to like overrate him a little bit. People are like, R-Truth is a legend. Like, yeah, he's a legend in the sense that he's had longevity, but he's not this like, he's like a legend like Matt Hardy's a legend, right? They're not really legends. You know what I mean? Just because they've been around for a long time doesn't mean they're legends. I would even say the same thing about Christian and even Edge. Like, I don't know if you can call them legends, right? Well, Edge probably, but Christian, I don't know if you call him a legend, but he is becoming one because of his work in AEW, in my opinion, right? He's reinventing himself. CM Punk doesn't have the capacity to do that. CM Punk doesn't have the capacity to make himself interesting again. And that's the fundamental problem with CM Punk coming back. He's not interesting. He stopped being interesting. You know when he stopped being interesting? When he got his ass beat by Mickey Gall in UFC. That's when everyone should have just stopped caring. It's like, all right, he's completely exposed himself as a hack, right? Like he's like, at the very least, with wrestling, the beauty of pro wrestling is that we don't know, right? We don't know for a fact who would win in a fight, right? CM Punk really ruined that for everybody, right? But like, we don't know. You know, people can say like, oh, you know, Anderson Silva would beat up everybody. Really, would he? I'm not so sure that he would beat up the Godfather in his prime. I'm not so sure that Anderson Silva would beat up JBL or Farouk in their primes. I'm not so sure. You know, he's like half their size. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's not get it twisted. Oh, Anderson Silva can kick you in the head. Yeah, but Farouk can squeeze the life out of you, right? And for sure he can't beat up like Mark Henry or Kane, right? There's levels, there's limits, right? And that's not the thing people don't understand, is the limits, right? But CM Punk tested those limits because CM Punk is portrayed as a heavyweight in the WWE. Then he goes and gets beaten by a welterweight jobber, basically, right? Who never amounted to anything. No disrespect to Mickey Gall, but you know what I'm saying, right? He just went there and he just looked horrible. He just looked like unathletic, right? Brock Lesnar had the opposite effect. CM Punk just ruined it for everybody, right? But at the same time, it's like you kind of already knew, right? It's like, that story that people talk about, the backstage story where CM Punk one time said, "Don't make the locker room dirty, throw away your trash." And then Booker T was holding like a tray of food and he just dropped it on the ground, right? In an effort to basically say like, go ahead, do something about it. What are you gonna do? Or you think you're this tough guy? No, you're not, right? Like, everybody knows. I mean, obviously we don't know, right? Maybe CM Punk would destroy Booker T, but realistically, if you look at CM Punk and you look at Booker T, you're like, all right, like Booker T would probably murder this guy, right? And like Anderson Silva would probably murder Booker T, right? But I don't know if Anderson Silva would beat up Kane. So that's the beauty of wrestling, because you have these monsters, right? Or you used to, at least. You used to have monsters like Kane and Braun Strowman. The idea is like, oh, these guys might be tough in real life, but CM Punk is not tough in real life in any capacity. Like, he's not physically tough. He's surely not mentally tough. He's just a pussy. I mean, like, let's say it like it is. He's a pussy who doesn't realize he's a pussy, right? Which in some ways makes him brave, I guess. It's kind of weird. But he's a pussy in the sense that he's soft, right? He's a soft dude, but nobody told him he's soft. He's under the impression that he's like this hard dude, right? And he operates like a hard dude, which, I mean, I gotta give him props. I mean, like, it's out of stupidity and ignorance, but nevertheless, he does go out there and get it done, right? He tried to go to the UFC, but his interest has long been gone from that moment, right? So it's like, what exactly are we waiting for here? What are we waiting for, you know? Like, why would CM Punk's run in WWE be any different than his very uneventful run in AEW, where he accomplished absolutely nothing? Yeah, he won the title a few times, but so what? Think about it this way. If instead of CM Punk, you had given the title to, I don't know, Lance Archer two times, right? You could have had the same exact feud. Instead of CM Punk versus Moxley, it was Lance Archer versus Moxley. What would have changed? Absolutely nothing, right? The needle wouldn't have moved. Actually, may have moved more with Lance Archer because, like, he actually has a look to him, right? But what would have changed? Absolutely nothing. And with that being said, that's all I got to say to you motherfucks.